Hey everyone, it's SG again. Due to both Predecessor and Overprime's imminent early access launches, I wanted to make a short video explaining why the original Paragon did not succeed in finding its footing before it was cancelled. I think this is important to go over before the remake's release, both for the developers of these games and the community at large. If we do not learn from the mistakes of the past, we are doomed to repeat them. But SG, you say that the game didn't find success, but clearly if there are people so dedicated to the game that they try to bring it back all these years later, as well as a large community behind them, the game must have been successful to some degree, right? And you're correct. But this is why Paragon is such a unique piece of gaming history. The game had immediate appeal and found a large and dedicated community, but still fumbled the bag hard enough to fail. Please keep in mind that I am mostly making this video based off my memories from back in the day, and it's been around 4 years since the game was cancelled. If I say something you feel is incorrect, just let me know in the comments. Maybe my memory isn't as great as it used to be. Also, there's already a video by Nerd Slayer Studios in his Death of a Game series about Paragon, which is fantastic. I would highly recommend everybody check that out when they get a chance. I'm not going to get into talking about Tencent or League of Legends or Fortnite's impact on the dev team. Most of this was covered pretty well in his video, but that video describes mostly the behind the scenes drama and the timeline of the fall of Paragon, whereas I want to go into more of the reasons the game failed from a design standpoint. Behind the scenes drama is one thing, but if the game was able to maintain a consistent player base, it would have mattered a lot less. So what were the reasons players were leaving Paragon before it got cancelled? First, let's go over what the game did right. Its announcement trailer during the PlayStation Experience Showcase all the way back in 2015 was one of the most hyped trailers of all time. It immediately garnered the game attention and press, and even more so when we saw that the gameplay looked exactly like the trailer. The art design and graphical fidelity still blows me away even all these years later. More so even because there are games that are releasing today that don't look half as good as Paragon did all the way back in alpha. Myself and many others were eagerly awaiting more news wherever we could find it. Personally, I remember waking up every day and refreshing RGS Ace, aka Robbie's, YouTube channel that I would leave open all day in case he posted some new gameplay. Robbie is now the CEO of Omida Studios, the studio behind Predecessor, and I wish him all the luck in the world. I still watch some of his old Paragon videos to this day. Paragon's beta launched in March 2016 when I was 16 years old. It launched on both PC and console, which helped start the game with a larger player base right off the bat. Early access was only available at the start through paid founders packs, which might have hurt said player base a little bit, but the numbers were still enough for Epic to be very hopeful about the project. It was a little janky here and there, but the launch was overall smooth, and the player numbers began to grow. There were many aspects of Paragon's gameplay that were unique and made it stand out, but not all of them were positive, leading to the first mistake of Paragon, the card system. The card system, while an interesting idea in theory, was a total flop. No one I played with enjoyed the system, and while it does still have its defenders, much of the community shared this sentiment. Initially, the card system had very little diversity and was extremely confusing to new players. The biggest issue was that not everyone had access to all the cards. You could only get them through card packs that, yes, you could grind the game for, but you could also purchase from the store, and you wouldn't be sure of what you were going to get. It's not like the cards only made slight improvements either. Most of them were clearly better than others, and not having them would set you at a meaningful disadvantage as opposed to other players who had them. When Tyler One, arguably one of the biggest streamers of all time, played Paragon on stream, it was supposed to be one of the biggest moments in Paragon history and a massive boost of exposure for the game. It was, but when people tuned in to see the game, this is what they saw.
Crate openings! Awesome! Wait, you can unlock cards to do better? Dash forward 1,000 units? Wait, is this any champ? Can I use this on any champ?
That guy's just alpha as fuck all right.
Wait, that is kind of pay to win.
Things were not improved when the devs released the New Dawn update, which made the cards even more impactful on the game. It just wasn't fair, and in a competitive game, especially in the MOBA genre, that is unacceptable. Imagine a game of Halo where you spawn in with a plasma pistol, and the enemy spawns in with a sniper rifle or rocket launcher. It just doesn't work, and it's extremely frustrating. While they did go back and fix this element of the game, removing card packs and allowing you to buy cards with rep, it was too little too late, and the world already thought of Paragon as a pay-to-win title. Card packs weren't the only RNG progression in Paragon. There were also paid loot boxes. They were rough. Loot boxes were highly skewed towards small EXP boosts and such, and it was very rare that you would get a skin.
I'm done. No, oh my god. No, don't fuck with me. No! Holy shit! What the fuck? What the actual fuck? There's no way this is happening right now. No way. I did not waste all this money to get rep boost the entire time. That's just bullshit. No, come on. No way. No way. There is no way this is happening right now.
When you take the gaming community's general disdain for loot boxes into account, as well as their poor implementation, the fact that they were allowed in the game in the first place was a terrible choice. It showed a terrible lack of understanding of the community and the people they were trying to win over from other games. This pattern of not understanding or listening to the community would repeat itself all throughout Paragon's life cycle, or death spiral, depending on your general disposition in life. There are many examples of Epic not listening to the community. They would say they were listening and even release short dev interviews talking about changes periodically, but they were never really doing anything that the community was actually looking for. Balance issues would take forever to fix, there were unnecessary reworks, and constant unasked for changes in the map and gameplay. Perfect example is Wukong. Wukong broke the game after his initial release, and while he received a few nerfs, almost nothing was really done to combat his impact on the map. With such a powerful ult for split pushing and the most mobility out of anyone in the game, Wukong could shove a lane and be on the other side of the map, shoving another lane almost instantly. Wukong was personally one of my favorite heroes to play, but even I was confused about Epic's slow response. The biggest failure on Epic's part when it came to community feedback was its absolute tunnel vision on the concept of how long matches should be, and its brain-dead approach to solving that problem. Matches in Paragon initially could take up to 40 minutes to an hour, which is a lot, but because the core gameplay was enjoyable enough, no one really had that big of an issue with it, except Epic. The majority of the changes that Epic made during Paragon's life cycle were made to shorten game times. This led to a lot of terrible decisions that hurt the core gameplay of the game, and Epic didn't seem to care. It started with a travel mode on the legacy map, which was fine most of the time. Then the Monolith update happened and the map became far too small, which when combined with faster movement speeds across the board, made deathballing the only real strategy. Because rotations were as fast as they were in Monolith, everyone would start to travel around the map together anyway, leading to constant brawling and stepping further away from the mobile identity. This alienated the majority of the fanbase that had been building for the game, and once again Epic did not seem to mind as long as it had those shorter match times. The change from the legacy map to Monolith really cemented their lack of understanding to a lot of the community, and showcased their inconsistent and confusing design philosophy. The new map completely changed the foundation of the MOBA genre in terms of lane design. Instead of 2v2 in the carry lane and 1v1 in the off lane, they decided to force everyone into 2v1 scenarios on both sides of the map. This change was disastrous, forcing two boring asymmetrical lanes where the offlaners would just get bodied for the majority of the game with very little recourse, and it wasn't very exciting for the opposing carry or support either. So now, 6 out of 10 players in every single game are bored or frustrated. This was another contributing factor in deathballing. Who just wants to sit in lane being poked and denied CS for 15 minutes? So laning slowly became more or less a non-factor, and the game became more about who can come online and group with the team faster. Also, on a subjective note, during the end of Paragon, the hero releases became very underwhelming. The designs lacked a lot of the spark that made the original heroes so interesting. Here are the hero releases after Crunch. Hot Lady, Hot Lady, Hot Lady, Hot Lady, Crazy Lady, Cool Guy with Gun, Hot Lady, Monkey, Cool Guy with Gun, Hot Furry Lady, Cool Guy with Gun, and a Boomerang. Where are the cool designs? Monsters and rats and robot mechs. This is something I'm really worried about when it comes to the new games, Predecessor and Overprime. Both have shown their new heroes, and they are both Hot Lady, even though Pred's Hot Lady can turn into a Raven, so that's kind of cool, I guess. So with that in mind, here are my closing pieces of advice for Omida and Netmarble. Listen to the community. Absolutely zero pay-to-win bullshit. Don't include anything in the game the community would be ashamed to watch on someone's stream. Focus on the core gameplay and not match times or anything else that could distract you from the core gameplay. For Pred, Don't worry about your movement speed, and definitely don't add a travel mode. The tempo for Pred is currently perfect in my opinion. For Overprime, because you have such a small map, maybe reduce the speed of the travel mode a little to prevent the death balling that ran amok in Paragon. I've already seen it in the most recent test. Both games already have an item shop and not cards, which is great. But please, for the love of God, no loot boxes in the store. Just let us buy the skins that we want to buy. I'll pay. We'll all pay. Lastly, vary up the design of your characters a little bit. Give us some cool stuff. Shit that we haven't seen before. And that's all from me. Predecessor Early Access launches December 1st, and Overprime Early Access launches on the 8th. Which one are you most excited for? Let me know in the comments below. Toodles!